Hi folks, today we'll be creating dynamic double exposures in PowerPoint. A double exposure is a picture composed of two combined and overlaid images. This method can be used for great artistic effect and storytelling purposes in presentation design. Now admittedly, PowerPoint does not have the same graphical capabilities of Photoshop, but having said that, there are a few tricks we can use to create some really dynamic double exposure effects. Let's take a look at a few. First up, we'll begin by creating the duotone double exposure effect. We'll then move on to something I'm calling a freehand double exposure. Third, we'll look at a PNG to SVG double exposure, and I'll explain what that means when we get to it. Then we look at double exposure using video. And finally, we look at double exposure using GIF animations. So let's get started. Let's start by creating the duotone effect. Let's go to a new slide and add our images. Now to be upfront, in this tutorial, I won't be talking about how to create these images and remove their backgrounds, as that will stretch the tutorial on for way too long. So I've gone ahead and pre-cut some images. Once we have our images on our slide, let's adjust their positioning and size so they roughly match each other. Now that we know the placement of our images, let's select each image, go to Color, and remove the color and turn them into grayscale images. Also, in corrections, let's go down to the contrast and increase the contrast by 40% for both images. Having done that, cut each image and paste it again as a picture. This has removed all the color properties from the image, and now they will be treated as completely grayscale images. Then simply, once again, go to Picture Format and Color and select the color you want to give it. Let's select the second image and give it a blue variation. Then simply go to Transparency options and add the amount of transparency we want to give each image. The image in the background should have a lesser transparency than the image in the foreground. Then we can adjust the positioning once again depending on how we want to place them. Select both images and group them. Then depending on our layout, we can resize the images. And there we have a duotone effect. Quite easy. And if you happen to have a video that can be used in the background, we can go ahead and add that to create a further dynamic effect. Let's set this to play automatically and let's take a look. And that's pretty cool. So within seconds, we've created a really dynamic and interesting looking layout. Let's move on to our second tutorial, which is freehand double exposure. This is for those who have a pretty steady hand for drawing with a mouse. So let's open a new slide and bring in our image. So I'll crop this image and adjust its size. Then let's go to our toolbar and select the freehand scribble tool. We'll be drawing this on the periphery of the image just outside it. So start drawing. Leave a little space between the freehand drawing and the image. And there we go. Let's remove the shape outline. Let's right click on this shape, go to Format Shape, Fill with Picture, and insert a picture from File. So let's insert the city skyline. Let's go to Picture Format, Crop, and adjust the shape of the picture within this shape. So I am adjusting this picture to fill the slide exactly. Then let's click on the shape once again. Go to Picture Effects and Soft Edges. And let's give it a 10-point soft edge. We can increase this edge later if necessary. Then let's go to the Picture Transparency option and increase it so that the background image is just visible. Now as we can see, a lot of the edges are still there, so we can go back to the soft edges and keep increasing them until they roughly match the background image. And there we go. Depending on the type of image you're using, you may want to increase or decrease the transparency. There's no single setting or rule to what transparency should be there. Totally depends on what image you use and what are the colors inside the image. Now I'll go and grab that skyline image once again and paste it into the background of our slide. Adjust it to match the slide dimensions. And we can also remove the color from the background image so our double exposure stands out a little better. And there we go. Another thing you could try is also reduce the transparency of our main image just a little bit and then overlay it back again with our shape. This helps create a great depth and helps merge all the images together quite seamlessly. Let's create another variant of the freehand style. Let's open a new slide and bring in an image. Let's go to our shapes and again draw a freehand style with a little difference. While at the back of the person we'll stay on the outside edge. We'll keep drawing, but a little bit halfway through, let's take our freehand onto the face, covering just the shadowed bits, and complete the shape. So now we can see a little bit of her is visible. A cool trick that you could try if you have the patience is, if you're not happy with the freehand shape, you can right click on it, go to Edit Points and zoom in on certain aspects and adjust your shape. Of course, this definitely takes time and a lot of patience. So I'll leave it like that for now. Let's go to this shape and add our picture. Since we'd already used this picture to fill, it's automatically picking it up. Let's remove the shape outline. And let's first give it the soft edges. Then we can go to Picture Format, Crop, and adjust the picture so that we can highlight the main buildings. There we go. Since this has already picked up the transparency from a previous slide, we don't have to add it. But depending on the images you're using, adjust the transparency. And we have a pretty nice neon looking double exposure. Let's group the two. Now this time, instead of adding a background image, another thing we could try is, Let's create a box for the background. Remove the outline, send to back. Let's go to Shape, Fill, Eyedropper and pick up the green light that's reflecting on her face and add that to our background. What this does is this helps the picture merge really well with our slide background and leaves a lot more room to add content. Let's move on to our third style of double exposure, which is PNG to SVG. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic, and that is a format that is compatible with PowerPoint. So let's begin by adding an image. Let's crop and adjust the size. This is a great method for those who do not want to bother with creating a freehand outline. So instead, let's duplicate this image. Let's go to Corrections. Choose the darkest option we can find. Then go to Color. Under Recolor, go to Black and White. Now what we need to do is convert this PNG image into an SVG format. So let's right click on this, save as picture and save it as a PNG anywhere in your work folders. Having done this, let's open up a website called png2svg.com. Let's simply scroll down, choose a file and add the PNG we just created. Let's remove all extra colors just to simplify the image as much as possible, and then click on Generate. Then simply click on Download SVG. Once the SVG is downloaded, go to your download folder and it will be saved as image to vector.svg. Let's copy this file and go back to our PowerPoint. We can now delete the PNG that we created and instead replace it with the SVG file. Under the Graphics Format option, once you paste the SVG, you'll find the option to convert to shape. So click on that and now this silhouette has become an editable PowerPoint shape. So let's resize it to match our background picture. And then the simplest step of all we need to do is fill it with an image. So let's find a different image to use. And once again adjust the transparency depending on the image. Go to Picture Format and ensure that the picture is not completely skewed out of proportion. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm removing the color from the background image and increasing her contrast. And both images seamlessly merge beautifully. So that's a quick way to create a double exposure using a PNG to SVG conversion. Next, let's create a double exposure using video. Let's create a new slide and let's bring in the previous SVG that we created. I'll just change the fill color. Let's draw a rectangular box behind this, and for now let's remove the shape outline and change the color of this box. So we have two different contrasting colors. Let's place the image where we would want it to appear. Select the box first, then the image. Under Merge Shapes, click Subtract. Now the next step is to go to Insert, Video, Stock Videos, and choose any kind of stock video that we want to insert. Let's resize the video to fit the slide. Let's set it to play automatically and send to back. Let's take a look. Now let's go back to the original image that we had. Copy it and bring it over here. And let's place it right above the cutout. Now there's a little bit of an outline visible, which we'll solve in just a second. First, add transparency to this image that we brought in, and let's adjust it just enough so that the video behind is visible, and check it once. And of course, depending on what you want to be more visible, you can increase the transparency of the image so the video stands out a little better. Next, let's go back to the orange shape, right click on it, bring it to front, and let's add an orange outline to the shape. Then in shape fill options, let's go to the line and increase the width of your line until it overlaps the visible outlines of the picture. We can change the color of the shape to anything that we need depending on the style of our presentation. And there we go. We have a double exposure using a video. Now one drawback to this format is that once you've created it, the image cannot be moved. So in order to deal with that, let's move on to our next subject, which is creating double exposure using GIF animations or GIF animations, whichever you prefer. The reason why this may be a better option for you is that it gives increased flexibility to move the shapes around and makes it much easier to format slides, whereas in the video one, we're stuck with where we place the image. So let's see how we can make this. Now imagine you want to use the same video for your image, but you want to use it as a GIF. So let's duplicate this slide, delete everything of it but the video. Now we have this video inserted in PowerPoint, and we can easily convert it into a GIF animation by going to File, going to the Export options, and going to create an animated GIF. In the slides, we'll just choose slide number 10, and seconds to spend on each slide is the duration of the video, which is 10 seconds, and then click on Create GIF. This will automatically convert the video into a GIF file. We can then pick the GIF up and place it into our presentation slide. As soon as you put it in, it will automatically start playing. The GIF file does lose a bit of video fidelity, but once you cover it using a double exposure, it won't make so much of a difference. So let's delete this for now. Let's bring in our originally created image and SVG. Bring them to a new slide. And this time in the SVG, let's go to Insert, from File, and insert the GIF video that we just made. Again, you can play with the transparency and then overlay it over the picture. And the GIF automatically plays within the shape. You can also find a number of websites where you can download high-resolution GIF animations that you can use to insert in this. So let's try one of those. Let's go to Insert from File, and let's insert this animation which I downloaded from Giphy. Let's place it in. Let's go to Picture Format, Crop, and adjust our GIF animation within the shape. Let's adjust its transparency if we need to. And let's take a look. And that's a pretty cool double exposure using a GIF. So that's it, folks. These are the few methods we can use to create double exposures in PowerPoint. I hope you find this content helpful. Hit the like and subscribe buttons to show your love. Once again, thank you for watching, and remember to keep on creating.